Welcome to Stack of Stats. I am your host, Pamela Maldonado, joined by Anthony Charter, DFS Analyst for TourJunkies.com, and we're here to bring you all the analytics behind the PGA bets. Charter, I am happy to have you once again. We just talked yesterday, but how excited are you for this week's tournament?
It's bittersweet. It's the last major of the year. Majors are always the cream of the crop when it comes to golf. So, a little sad that we'll have to wait, way too long. Was it 9-10 months before the Masters comes rolling around? We were so gifted last year because we had double US Opens and double Masters. Kind of wish it was like that, but at least we have the Ryder Cup and the Olympics and all kinds of other juicy things coming up. But yeah, the Open Championship is going to be awesome.
Or for the rest of the world, golf is over. Too bad, so sad, because next we get football, and that's when the real sport begins. Yesterday we did detail the course, we detailed the field, and we talked about some of the early clicks that we had. Today we are going to give our picks, our favorite players, and looking at, of course, it is the Open Championship. It is at Royal St. George's Club in England in Sandwich, UK. It is a par 70. It is 7,200 yards. Just to recap, the field of the top 5 betting favorites on the betting market right now. You have Jon Rahm, who is the plus 850 favorite, Brooks Koepka plus 1,600, Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele, both 1,800, and Justin Thomas is today plus 2,200. Yesterday, he was plus 2,000. So that's a little bit of an interesting move that we are seeing. What do you think about that move?
I don't know. I mean, they're probably just trying to entice people with a little bit bigger a number, and now people are starting to bite. I know a lot of people were waiting for DJ to his number to slowly come down because it hadn't moved. So once you get over that 20 number, it becomes a little more enticing.
Right. Some of the stats that we're going to be utilizing for myself, I am looking more so at recent form. I want to see the players who are coming into this with some confidence because they either have some top 10s, top 5s, maybe even a win under their belt. I want to look at the history in majors because you have players who do really well in regular tour events, and then they get to a major and somehow they're just like missing the cut after missing cut. So that's what I'm considering. I am also looking at strokes gained around the green. I think we talked a lot about the course yesterday, so you can make sure to check out yesterday's podcast. It is part 1. This is part 2. But I am also looking at strokes gained on the approach and putting on bent grass greens. Which stats are you using? Did you make any changes from yesterday to today?
No, not really. Fairways, control the ball, creative guys. Generally strokes gained on difficult scoring averages, windy AF conditions. And just general bogey avoidance, but also who can make birdies on not necessarily just par 5s, but when the scoring is difficulty, who shows up with the birdies. I don't mind if someone's going to make a whole bunch of bogeys if they're scoring more birdies, especially in DFS. But when it comes to winning a championship, you're still going to need to get to a number. But going with the trends, did you do any homework? Were you able to come up with anybody?
Really hard to go through.
It was really hard.
As far as I got was those who are 30 and 35. And then from that list, that's where I stopped. Have you done well recently? Did you win a major? Have you been in the top 10 of a major? Kind of stuff like that. But it was kind of coincidental that the players that I liked are part of this age bracket anyway. So I am kind of looking to the older demographic. I think players with a lot of experience, it comes into play here. In a course that has a lot of wind, takes a lot of patience, it has a lot of history playing with the Open. If you have history with the Open, that's fantastic. And those who have history with the Open tend to be those who are in their 30s and their 40s. So that's already the demographic that I was looking at. So I kind of stopped and gave up. I know I said I was going to. It's a lot of trends to find a handful of players. And there's 156 players in the field. So instead, we're just going to go back to our regular routine. You have 4 players on your list. I have 5, but of my 5, you and I share 2. So we will start first with your picks, and that one of the players that you like for this week is Scotty Shuffler. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't mind this play at all. For a top 20, he is plus 175. Plus top 10, he is plus 400. To win, he is plus 5,500. The only caveat that I see for him is that he has never played at the Open. However, if you look at how he has done at major events, he's kind of
Pretty
one of
good.
those guys. He's pretty good in his last few events. His last 5 starts, he took 4th, 19th, 18th, 8th, and 7th in his last 5 majors. On bent grass, he does pretty well too. I mean, he doesn't putt pretty well, but he still ends up with pretty good results. A few top 20s. And then in 2021, he's kind of having himself a really great 2021 season. He took 18th at the Masters. He took 8th at the PGA Championship, both majors, and then he had 3rd at the Memorial, 7th at the US Open. So everything that he's done well in was at a major. Is it any concern to you, however, that he has not played at an Open event?
No, not really. I mean, like, he did finish well at the Scottish Open last week, which is nice. Very linksy. Obviously, the course is a little bit easier than he's going to face this week, but that's not something to worry about. Scheffler has
And the field is
amazing
going to be
numbers.
harder.
That's true too, but I mean, he's proven that he shows up the big fields. I mean, if Scotty played some of these weak events, he might be with a win right now. But just he only wants to show up when everyone else is showing up, and like his numbers when the scoring average is difficult are very, very intriguing. And same with windy AF conditions, which generally is a theme between all 4 of the players that I'm really on this week. Their numbers when the scoring average is difficult and when wind is in play are top tier. So that's something interesting. One thing I will say though, I'm not really on him, although I'm not really off of him yet, but Paul Casey fit the trend for all but 2, I believe. So that was as far as I really got it. Like, there was a bunch that fit like 5 or 6, but Paul Casey fit all but 2.
I'm just not sure what to do about Paul Casey. Initially, he was a highlighted player of mine, and then I ended up
I still
not
have him
putting him on my
starred.
list. So I think, so we both have him starred and watch him not make our card, and then he comes
We
out
can't
with a
talk
win.
about everybody.
We can't talk about, and that's the thing about this tournament is that there's a lot of players that I really like that can contend because they're really great form, or they've done really well at open events and maybe they don't have great form, so they can maybe find a bounce back. I really like this tournament. It's a bit of a confusing one, and tournaments where you don't have a lot of course history, those are always going to be more difficult. I'm somebody who likes to use stats. And now you don't really have any stats to go off of. So it's kind of a guessing game. Your guess is as good as mine. All we can do is cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah. I mean, you can still, even though we don't have it, you can still piece together bit by bit, just trying to make like a course fit, a lot of par 4s between 400 and 450, the couple par 5s.
Just a matter of how detailed do you exactly want to go. I kind of stick to my general stats, and I look at around the green, I look at approach, I look at bogey avoidance. I think those 3 are going to be really important at this course. Are you going to avoid bogeys, and are you going to put it in a good spot for you to hit? I'm kind of keeping it simple, stupid. So that's the strategy that I'm using. Everyone has their own strategy, and that's what I love about sports betting. But that is for Scotty Shuffler. Another player that you do have is Matthew Fitzpatrick, who was on my early click yesterday podcast. For top 20, he is plus 150. Top 10, he is plus 300. And to win, he is plus 3,500. That is the number that I grabbed yesterday. However, spoiler alert, he's not on my card. I ended up laying off of him. This was just when I say first clicks, this is me doing 0 research, and I just click based off of a name that I like, and I liked his odds, and I liked his name, and he does really well. And I don't blame you for having him on your card. On looking at how he does at major events, he has only had 1 top 20 finish at a major in his last 10. That's what kept me off of him. How he has done at the Open in his last few starts, he did take 23rd in 2019, but he has 2 missed cuts prior. And then how he does on bent grass, kind of okay. He has 1 12th place finish back in 2020. And how he does in 2021, he's been having himself an up and down season. He is really good off the tee. So his ball striking is consistently there, and his putting off and on. I didn't love what I saw from his stats, which is why I didn't put anything else on him other than my first click buy yesterday. What can you do to persuade me back onto him? What do you have?
First of all, he's still a really young guy.
Yes.
And although the putter hasn't clicked, a lot of the courses that he's played in the States, obviously he's sort of new just to, being a regular on the PGA Tour. So that's going to come. But I mean, when this putter shows up, like his results are pretty good. But over the last 3 months, he's 8th in fairways gained, 12th in birdie or better percentage, 16th in 400 to 450 par 4 scoring, and 29th in overall putting.
Okay.
Then you get into the difficult scoring. His 16th in strokes gained total on difficult scoring averages over his last 50 rounds. And in those 50 rounds with windy AF conditions, he's 29th as well.
AF.
And he also grew up around Royal St. George's. He is in love with the course and has shot a 67 here.
But okay, I don't mind any of that you were feeding me. I don't dislike it. I like it. And he is coming off his second place finish just last week at the Scottish Open. Talk about some of that run good, some of those good vibes. What did I talk about? I need a player with a good headspace. That should definitely be him. I like Matthew Fitzpatrick as well. He may end up back on my card. Now you have 2 other guys on your card, both of which I share. We don't need to detail too much, but we should still talk about them if you are new to the pod. It is Jordan Spieth, my fellow Longhorn. Let's get it. Top 20, he is minus 110. Top 10, he is plus 185. For him to win is plus 1,800. He is one of the top heavy favorites. How he does in majors, also pretty good. He took third at the Masters. He took 19th at the U.S. Open. How he does at the Open, he has great Open history. Keep in mind, this is the only time we haven't played at this course since 2011. The Open is a rotating tournament. They have but at the Open Championships in his last 5, he took 4th, 30th. He won in 2017. He took 9th in 2018, and he took 8th in 2019. So he's pretty good on the Open circuit. On bent grass greens, also pretty good. He took 3rd, 9th, and 2nd in his last 3. And we know that 2021, he's having himself just an absolute phenomenal season. He has been in the green in every single category, in nearly every single tournament, with the exception of less than a handful. What else can you add to why we both love him for this week?
Not much, to be honest. Spieth is just super gold. Like, yeah, he's only finished outside the top 20 once in his last 7 starts. He's top 10 tee to green and 400 and 450 par 4 scoring. One thing I was going to bring up with Brooks, there is someone pooled together a total links results from since 2015. And Jordan Spieth is number 2 on that list with 117 strokes gained total on the fields in that time frame, with 2.2 strokes gained per round on average. And number 1 on that list is the guy we're going to talk about next.
So then next, that moves us over into Brooks Koepka. He is your 4th guy you're looking at. He is another guy that I'm looking at. This is number 2 of the people that we both like. For top 20, he is minus 110. Top 10, he is plus 175. For him to win, a short favorite at plus 1,600. But Brooks, in his last 10 majors, he has had top 5 in 7, including 2 wins and 3 runner-ups. He has gained strokes in every single category in 8 of his in 8 events, and the 2 that he didn't, he took 29th and he missed the cut. So the possibility is there. We're not saying that he's going to be a perfection this time around, but the option is there. More so than often, he's going to contend at the Open. He took 10th, 6th, 39th, and then 4th in 2019. And he is coming into this with some really great form. He took 5th at the Travelers Championship. That was the last tournament that he played. Brooks Koepka is one of those guys that you kind of have to ignore the stats, because for whatever reason, he just shows up. Auto bet him at majors. I'm starting to like imprint that into my brain. You have to just like auto click, and he should be an auto click. Is there anything additional that you can give us?
Yeah, I mean, Brooks just has that Tiger Woods mentality. A few months back when Rory went to visit Tiger, there was like 15 trophies on the wall. Tiger's won in like 85. Well, actually, he's won like 83 PGA or sanctioned events and then countless other events. But he only has 15 trophies. He has 15 majors. Rory asked where the rest of the trophies are. Tiger shrugged. they're irrelevant. It doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters and what you will remembered by generally is major
Majors.
golf championships when you're
That
playing
is
the
Kepka.
best unsanctioned, and the big game hunter Brooks Koepka shows up for that.
Okay.
One stat
I
which will
have
blow your mind.
okay, because I have a I have a caveat. I have a counter argument. Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the majors since 2017,
Okay.
Brooks is negative, or he is 84 strokes under par, minus 84 in his major
That's
scoring
bonkers.
since
Is that first?
2017. That is by far first. The
What's the
next
next?
closest person is Dustin Johnson,
Okay.
63 strokes
Wow.
behind.
So 20 some strokes ahead of the field in majors. That's pretty impressive. I do have one question mark on bent grass greens, which is what this course is.
Barely.
He has back-to-back miscuts at the Masters and then Byron Nelson, which was a team event.
Yeah.
Regardless, what do you think?
No, I'm not worried about any of that. Brooks will find the putter when he needs to, and these greens and the entire course is at least 60% fescue everywhere. Like
Okay.
there's a very small mix of bent grass in there, but that's why they show up a few days early to get some practice in. So yeah, I'm not really worried about like off and on, because if you just pooled Brooks's major stats together with nothing else, I'm sure
Right.
the results would be quite a bit different regardless. So yeah,
So
that's
those are
not.
the four players that you like. It is Scotty Shuffler, Matthew Fitzpatrick, and then the two that you have that I share, Jordan Spieth and Brooks Koepka. Now help me out with the next three guys that I like on my card. One of them is going to be Colin Morikawa. Top 20 is plus 165. Top 10, he's plus 300. And to win, he is plus 3,300. He's never played at the Open, but if you look at how he performs at majors, also pretty damn good. He's won the PGA Championship. He took 18th at the Masters. He took 8th at this year's PGA, and he took 4th at the US Open just in June. On bent grass, he also does pretty well. He took 14th at the Charles Schwab. He took another top 20 the week before. And then how he's doing in 2021, he's kind of on a bit of a run right now. In his last 6 starts, he took 18th, 7th, had a miscut, but that was in the Zurich, which is a team event. And then since after that, he took 8th, 14th, 2nd, and 4th. Those are the last tournaments that we saw him. He is the best ball striker on tour. I'm still going to say that. He is, what else can you say about him? He's amazing. He's a great, I'm going to look for the player. His putter is always going to be an issue, but if you give me a player who's going to like consistently ball strike where he needs it to go, that's what I like. Do you like Colin Morikawa like I do?
No. I
Oh,
just think he will lack way too. He just doesn't have enough experience for a course like this. A course like this isn't just about a pure ball striker.
okay.
Putting it to point A to point B on an American course is much different than knowing exactly how much speed and spin to put on a ball when it hits a slope to go forward,
So if you're
backwards.
talking about experience, you're kind of counterintuitive to yourself right now. You don't like Colin Morikawa because he doesn't have the experience, yet you're taking Scotty Shuffler, who also doesn't have the experience.
Yeah, but yes, agreed. It is a little different, but I don't know
I don't know.
the pedigree. I mean, Scotty Scheffler's short game is pretty decent. Colin Morikawa's short game is absolutely terrible.
Yes.
Even in his last 20 rounds over the last 3 months, he is 78th in scrambling, 82nd in putting. He switched back and forth 2 different times between putting grips. He just doesn't have it. I mean, yeah, he's one of the most elite ball strikers in the entire world, but that's only going to get you off the tee. From there, yeah, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting up and down between the greens and the bunkers, and
No, you're right.
it's just scary. It is scary.
Scheffler is better around the green. For that reason alone, I could see myself laying off Colin Morikawa and instead maybe going to Scheffler or just laying off entirely.
One
Another
thing I will
player
say
that
too, Scheffler's ball flight is so pure and low and very nice
lower.
for a
We
course like
talked
this.
about that yesterday. We talked about that
Morikawa's
yesterday.
flight's really high.
People with lower ball flights are probably going to excel because it's a wind course.
Yeah, it's, and generally it's just a
Okay.
lot easier to control bounce and
That's why we do this pod, because
stuff.
we are here to help each other out. Colin Morikawa, consider him scratched from my list. The
It
next
is
player
really
that
hard too, I
it
guess,
is
but
hard,
it's
and he could
just
still very well win. And then too bad, so sad. But the next player that I do like is Louis Utheism. For top 20, he is plus 110. For top 10, he is plus 250, and to win, he is plus 3,300. He has He is a bridesmaid and he's never a bride. He has multiple runner up finishes at major events dating back from 2015.
so
He has
many.
5. He has 5 runner up finishes since 2015. He has one third place finish on bent grass greens. Looking at how he's done at the Open, it's kind of okay. He took second back in
Kind of
2015.
okay.
Kind of okay. He
He
missed the cut back
won.
to back afterward. Well, this was back in the day. This was prior to 2015. I'm looking at the last 5.
Yeah,
On bent
2013, I
grass,
think it was when he won.
on bent grass greens, he's also pretty okay. He has a 19th, a 48th, a 23rd, and a 26th place finish. But in 2021, I'm looking at recent form. I'm looking at confidence. Nobody should have more confidence than Louis Oosthuizen, because he has 11th, 6th, 2nd, 8th, 2nd, 18th, 2nd. He is having himself a really great season. And if I want to talk about somebody who does well around the green, that's him. If I want to talk about somebody who has a game with their putter, that's him. I don't need him to be stellar off the tee. I need him to have a good iron shot, and he does gain strokes with his approach. So give me a guy with a good iron play, mix that in with the short game. I'm going to like him every time. Would you agree with Utheisen?
Yeah, I mean he's still really good off the tee. So
Yeah.
even then, but yeah, Louis got one of the best short games around. Someone asked me in the Nut Hut yesterday who were the best 3 short game players that have a chance to win, and my answers were Louis, Abraham Answer, and Kevin Kisner. And because those are generally 3 of the best short game players in the world, really, and all 3 have a legit chance of winning this Open. So
absolutely. So then another player that I like, lastly, it is a bit of a longer shot, but it is Rickie Fowler for top 40. For a top 40 is the only as
top
far as I'm willing to
40?
take it.
What?
Yes.
How do you even have a top 40?
You're still getting plus money, plus 100 for a top 40.
What?
Yes, please. How is that not a lock? And the reason for that is because Rickie Fowler at major events, he finishes in the top 40. Just naming off since 2017, 5th, 2nd, 20th, 28th, 12th, 9th, 36th, 43rd, 6th, 1 miscut, 49th, 29th, and 8th. He is already starting to come back into form a little bit more so than he was definitely like 4 to 6 months ago. Looking at how he does at the Open, 30th, 46th, 22nd, 28th, and 6th in 2019. And then how he does on bent grass, 28th, 57th, 29th. How all of these numbers are below 40. And in 2021, as mentioned, he's starting to come back into form a little bit. He had a lot of miscuts there for a little while, but then he took 8th at the PGA Championship. Was it PGA? Yeah, he took 8th at the PGA Championship. Followed that up with 11th at the Memorial. He did miss a cut at the Travelers, but then he bounced back in a pretty decent way, taking 32nd at the Rocket Mortgage. So looking at his history, looking at him starting to have more green than red in his statistics, top 40, that's very feasible. What do you think for plus money?
What kind of weird place are you betting that has top 40 numbers? I've never even heard of that before. That's insane.
If you got it, I'm gonna look at it.
God, yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. I wish I had some top 40 numbers. I'd go for some real nice long shots for top 40. But yeah, I would love to see Rickie do something. This will actually be the last major he has qualification for, and this is the last year too. If he doesn't do something, I think a top 10 will obviously get him into next year, regardless. Otherwise, he'll need to get into the top 50. But if he doesn't, Rickie will not have a spot in any major next year.
So there's a lot of implications. I love that you said that, because now he's not just playing for a top 20. He's trying to win because he needs to stay on tour. He needs to keep his exemptions into these majors. This is a pretty big implication for him. So there is actually a lot on the line. It's not about money. It's about the next few years of your career.
Yeah. And his coach, I mean, obviously it's known that him and John Tillery came together, and Tillery's one of these guys that just breaks your swing down completely and rebuilds it. So there was obviously going to be a lot of downtime for Rickie, and like, you know, his expectations were there, that he knew it was going to happen. You know, and obviously he lost his putting prowess, which he was like, you know, one of the best short game players in the world for a long time. But yeah, the numbers are starting to get back together. Like his last 3 months, like he's really been showing up a little bit.
More green than red.
Over 18 rounds, he's 12th in scrambling and 19th around the green. The putting, it's still a little suspect, but like he's starting to hit more fairways. That's really good, and you know, making some birdies and stuff too.
It's
so
starting to come together. Is he going to finish in the top 10? Is he going to win? Probably not. But for a top 40, that seems pretty feasible for him to finish in the top 40 when it's already something that he's been doing on his worst days. So
yeah,
I like it. So just to recap the players that I like, then the two players that you and I share are going to be Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka, and then I am no longer playing Colin Morikawa. You've convinced me off of him. Instead, I'm going to be playing Louis Utheism and Rickie Fowler, only for a top 40 if you can find it. I'm not going to take his top 20 odds at plus 275, but I do like his top 40. So those are the players that we like. To recap the full small laundry list this time, it is Scotty Shuffler, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka, no Colin Morikawa, Louis Utheism, and Rickie Fowler. There were some props. I do know that you said your missed the cut parlay, your Kuchar Garcia missed the cut parlay plus 401. That is up in play for this week, right?
Yeah, you can make it a little extra juicy too. I added a Bryson to that, a Rory to that, and a Lee Westwood to that.
Okay.
You can get some
I like Lee Westwood
major numbers for those 5 to miss the cut.
I do like Lee Westwood as an option. I'm not sure about Rory. I think he can definitely turn it on. And DeChambeau, I don't mind that one at all because he's also a bit of a firecracker. Firecrackers are the ones that can miss a cut, and it wouldn't surprise anybody.
Just in case, yes.
Yeah. So do make sure to follow him so you can see his full laundry list of exact plays. We talked about 4 players, but he does like more betting options. You can follow him on Twitter at Ant Charter. You can see his stuff at tourjunkies.com, and you can follow me at Pamela M35. And that does it for another episode of Stack of Stats.
Good luck.